chilly Saturday afternoon in the fall, just the way it is supposed to be for Michigan and Ohio State. All right, let's get back to our interviews now. Jack Mewhort, a former Buckeye and also a former St. John's Titan, now back working in Toledo. Here's my conversation with the former Buckeye offensive lineman.
First off, just kind of give people an idea, like, what do you do now for a living? What have you done since football kind of came to an end for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm still trying to figure it out some days. But when I got done playing over in Indy, it was 2018. And, I kind of figuring out what was next. So I took a year off, got physically healthy, dumped a bunch of the weight. Obviously, playing offensive line requires a few extra pounds. So physically getting healthy was my first priority. And then after that, I took a year off and, kind of evaluated what I wanted to do and what my passions were. Getting my MBA from IU, which has helped with that process. And then I sold commercial real estate for a couple of years over in Indianapolis before my dad here in town gave me a call and said, "Hey, I'd love for you to come learn the family business," which is title and escrow, Midland Title and Escrow. So I've been really lucky. Moved home here in February. They had quite the machine running here, so it was a soft landing for me to be able to come home. Great time to learn the business, and obviously working with family is what fires me up nowadays. So I always say title insurance isn't the most exciting and riveting thing in the world, but working with my family is what really fulfills me. So that kind of catches you up. It's not the most exciting thing, but it's where I am, and I'm really happy about it.
No, it's good, man. It means you're in the real world. You're out there working. It tells people football doesn't last forever. I appreciate that. Kind of give me an idea, when this week rolls around, it's Michigan, Ohio State week. Does it make you kind of miss football a little bit when this week in particular rolls around?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is, you hear it all year, the biggest rivalry in all of sport. And, I had coaches that made sure that was said many times during the calendar year. So it's kind of been drilled into me, and that's not something that you just forget about or lose when you stop playing football. I've been down to Columbus for a few games this year, and the atmospheres have been great, but this game, it all gets stepped up a level, and it's up in Ann Arbor this year. It's at the big house. It's going to be a hostile environment for the Buckeyes. They definitely have a target on their back, but it should be a great game. The game has been over pretty close to before halftime, so in this one won't be like that. This is a rivalry game. Everything gets tighter, and throw the records out, I'm excited to watch it.
What is this game actually like to physically be part of?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's a grinder. As an offensive lineman, it's being down in the trenches, it's already a physical game to begin with. But then, the old saying is that every 2 yards is a yard. It's, everything just gets tighter. Every inch becomes harder to gain. And, down there in the trenches, you get scrappy. It's physical, emotions are running hot, tempers are flaring. There could be some extracurriculars or things said, but, that's what adds to the rivalry. That's why this game is what it is, and it always will be. It's just because the players come and they got to have their best stuff, and mentally, physically, and whatever else, you really got to be buttoned up and tight for this one to make sure that when you go out and you perform, it's at the highest level. The best players, we always said at Ohio State, the best players play their best football against Michigan. And I think you look at the history of the game and who gets held in those highest regards as far as great players, and the great ones always performed well in this game.
Just kind of give me an idea. How does this thing play out? I think I know which way you're leaning, but kind of give me an idea how this game plays out.
Yeah, being an alumni and a guy that played for Ohio State, the right answer for me is to say I think the Buckeyes are going to roll it, and that's what I truly believe. That being said, this is not going to be what it has been the last couple of weeks for the Buckeyes. It's not going to be, Purdue or Michigan State where the game's over at halftime. It's going to be a game that is won, I believe, in the trenches on the ground. Again, I'm biased as an offensive lineman. I think the game's always won in the trenches, but over the last couple of weeks, C.J. Stroud and that air attack has been dangerous and deadly, and I think it will continue to be. But in this one, the game is going to be won between the tackles, and I think the Buckeyes and that big offensive line and those great running backs and tight ends, they have to play their tails off in order for this one to be come out on the right side. They can't depend on the flash and, the Hollywood, the one-handed catches. That stuff's great. It's, people at the playoff committee love to see it. But in this one, it's going to come down to toughness, again, mentally and physically, and what that offensive line can do to assert their dominance on the Michigan defensive line.
Special thanks to Jack Mewhort for joining us and that thoughtful conversation on what it was like to play in this rivalry game. All right, we are just a little over 90 minutes away from kickoff here between Michigan and Ohio State. We're taking another break. When we come back, we will continue to get you set for the greatest rivalry in all of sports. Michigan and Ohio State, live from Ann Arbor. Stick with us.